Everyone thought that he was a loser, but he unlocks SS rank powers after getting transferred to a school filled with ghosts and monsters. Haru was a lonely young man who used to teach at a Japanese high school, but his life there was extremely difficult as he was treated like a punching bag and humiliated every day. One day he decides to quit his job and starts looking for another school when one of his friends hooks him up with a teaching job at Hayaki Academy. Hayaki Academy, however, is no ordinary school, as it is specially made for yaoi or supernatural creatures from Japanese folklore, leaving him as the only human in a place filled with scary monsters. On the day of joining, Haruki lands on the island all pumped up with the possibility of starting afresh. He walks through the bustling market and soon reaches the academy where he meets the principal. After the principal assigns him a class and after taking a deep breath, Haruki enters the classroom only to be horrified by a room filled with magical beasts and deadly monsters that he only heard about in old horror stories. Haruki immediately tries to dip, but the principal blocks his path and explains that Hayaki Academy is a school for ghouls and spirits from all over Japan, and this is Haruki's big chance to shine as a teacher. Haruki wonders whether he should simply quit everything and become a baker, but the principal got no chill and pushes him back in the class. Haru immediately hides under the table, but one of the ghouls named Makoto calls him a chicken and tries to help him out of the table. Haruki decides to stop being it and takes Makoto's hand only for his clothes. Soon the principal calls Haruki out and hands him a ghoul dictionary to help him learn about his strange students and a collection of uniforms. After that, Haru re-enters the class and starts with a roll call while also learning about the ghouls from the Yakai dictionary. He learns about Makoto, the handsome blonde who keeps ignoring him, and Mamichi, his friend who is a raccoon dog. Suddenly, Haya enters the classroom with exotic gifts for his friends from Hawaii. But as soon as he learns that Haruki is a human teacher, he knocks him down with a punch, forcing Mimkichi to explain that Haya's beloved sister married a human, leaving him a bit cranky and sensitive. Later, he learns from the students that a girl named Zashiki has not been coming to the academy since the winter of first grade. So, he decides to visit her dorm and make her join for the class photograph. After school, Haruki goes to Zashiki place, closely followed by Makoto and Mimkichi because they want to keep an eye on their teacher, fearing that he has some dirty tricks off his sleeve. Haruki is dead serious in making Zashiki join the class because he doesn't want her to repeat a grade. But most importantly, she is a ghoul of good luck and her presence in the classroom will help Haruki. Soon they reach her dorm, but the door is locked, so Mikichi offers to become a spirit and enter through the keyhole, but he is thrown out as the door is locked with a spell. But a hellbent Haruki pushes the door, breaking it down in one go, and the other two ghouls are surprised. Upon entering a dark room, they come across a geeky girl yelling at them to shut their trap because she is busy saving the world. But it turns out that Zashiki is actually talking about a game, making them realize that she is avoiding the real world. Haruki begs her to come back to school because the school is a real world where she can experience a lot of happiness. Moreover, she will look beautiful in a sailor uniform. The next morning, Makoto overhears a conversation between the principal and two teachers that Haruki is a man with supernatural ghoul exorcism powers that he has inherited from his powerful ancestors who managed to drive ghouls away to a faraway land. The family of Haruki is running a shrine in the mainland, so for ghouls, Haruki will have a positive influence on the students. Next day, Zashiki joins them, but to Haruki's horror, she is wearing a trouser under her sailor uniform, which is totally against the school rules. Later, they all take a class photo together with Zashiki, and Haruki is happy that despite the ups and downs, they managed to have a picture together. Haru is out with his new friends, Miki, the one-horned ghoul teacher, and Hanuka, the school counselor, for drinks. There, he learns that the school has a physical examination day every year to send students for a checkup. The next morning, Haruki asks the students to change into their sportswear and get ready for the physical examination, and the ghouls start panicking just like regular humans, afraid of injection needles. After calming the ghouls, Haruki is leaving the class when Hanuka asks him to run to the audio-visual room to help with the vision test. A clueless Haruki tries to ask some questions, but Hatanaka, known for his short temper, ends up yelling at his face. After a long day at the audio-visual room, Haruki walks back, but he ends up getting his head bitten off by Hatanaka, who angrily asks him to take the raccoon dog and the cat for special examination. At the medical room, Miki puts the animals inside a cage to be vaccinated by Dr. Takahashi. Soon chaos erupts inside the cage because the animals are dead scared of injections. Soon Hatanaka walks in and Mickey grabs him by his scarf and locks him in because Hatanaka needs to be given a shot too, because he is a kamatachi, an animal that uses its sharp hands to cut things. When the doctor tries to give a shot to Manishi, he jumps in the air, causing the syringe to pierce Harawaki's head. A terrified Harawaki asks the doctor if he will be fine. The doctor asks him to get a giant injection shot just to be safe. Next, Harawaki reluctantly climbs a giant ghoul named Uda to measure his height. He starts climbing the giant and ends up reaching his ear, but the strong wind blows his favorite book away, causing him to lose his balance. However, Makoto, who is sleeping on Uda's head, manages to save him. Finally, Harawaki reaches Uda's head and tells Mickey that the giant measures 30 m, breaking the record of the big Buddha statue. After the measurements, when Harawaki starts climbing down, Uda accidentally ends up sneezing, causing the school windows to smash into pieces, but the intense sneeze ends up throwing Harawaki and Makoto on top of the principal, and they both start panicking. Harawaki offers to pay for the broken window, but the principal asks him to clean the swimming pool instead. Soon, Harawaki is on his way to the swimming pool with a few ghouls from his class. As soon as they reach the place, they are flabbergasted to see the ragged state of the swimming pool, which needs repairing rather than cleaning. Wasting no time, Harawaki and Makoto start draining the toxic water, but suddenly, an overly excited Haija ends up falling inside the toxic pool. Everyone starts panicking, and Harawaki almost pisses his pants, but thankfully Haija swims out. However, he turns into a freaky, flirty ghoul, so they kick him back in the pool and continue working. But suddenly, Momkichi starts screaming for help because the swamp ghouls called Kappa are pulling him inside the pool to make sushi out of him. They all try to help him, but the Kappas are stronger, so Makito delivers his powerful kick and saves Manichi. After some time, an injured Kappa comes out of the pool and warns them that his boss will kick their butts. And soon a huge ghoul with the body of the fish and face of a human emerges from the pool. The ghoul asks them to defeat him if they wish to clean this pool. This angers Tamo, who transforms into his cat form and jumps at the fish ghoul to eat him, but the ghoul eats him instead. Then it jumps to attack them, but Makoto blocks him with his punch and asks Uda to turn into a giant and catch the fish boss. After defeating the boss, they ask him to join their biology lab with the Kappas and enjoy 3 meals a day. And the boss happily agrees, but suddenly the giant Uda jumps in pain because he has landed in the toxic water and soon he falls on the other ghouls. This leads to cancellation of the cleaning and drive, and Harawaki gets a salary cut for failing at his job. The next day, Mickey invites Harawaki to join his ghoul studies class to learn about yaoi. Harawaki agrees because he is thrilled to understand his students better. After he leaves, other teachers ask Mickey and Hatanaka if they don't fear Harawaki's powers, which the principal mentioned. Mickey says Harawaki's strength makes him a valuable person, so it's smart to keep him close. In the classroom, Mickey announces that Harawaki will study with class 23 and the ghouls groan unexited. Mickey asks for homework and Haija claims he left it in the dorm, so Mickey tells him to fetch it, making Haija leave the class. Mickey begins the lesson explaining types of ghouls like humanoids, invisible ones, and those that blend in. He says the most dangerous are magic users who can cause chaos. Harawaki listens eagerly, wondering about Makoto's powers, but Makoto, the bad luck ghoul, catches him staring and flicks a pen at him. Annoyed, Mickey explains that Makoto and Zashiki are magic users whose abilities can lead to accidents, making them tricky to handle. Mickey reveals he's an action-type ghoul and offers to show his power, but the students panic, knowing his history, but Harawaki claps encouragingly. He drinks alcohol to activate his ability and punches the blackboard, sending shockwaves in the classroom. Makoto whispers to Harawaki that Mickey needs alcohol for magic and once destroyed half the school. Mickey loses control and starts throwing snake-like spells, and when a student tries to get help, Mickey squirts citrus juice in their eyes. He runs toward Harawaki, who freezes, unsure how to use his supposed powers. So Makoto urges him to try, but Harawaki admits he doesn't know how. On the other hand, Hatanaka hears the chaos while heading to another class, and soon the classroom door breaks and Harawaki lands into the hallway. Mickey leaps after him, ready to toss him over the railing, but Makoto shouts that if Harawaki stops Mickey, will ditch her trousers under her sailor uniform. Harawaki's uniform obsession sparks something inside him, and a burst of energy erupts, calming Mickey and leaving the classroom in ruins. Haija returns with his homework and gapes at the wrecked-up classroom. The next day, Haija follows Nuyudo, a one-eyed ghoul, begging for midterm notes. So Nuyudo snaps that Haija's whining makes him like their foolish teacher, Harawaki. Harawaki appears behind them, frightening them both, and they yell at him for his horror movie entrance. He explains he's helping Hatanaka with student guidance to improve communication. Haija and Nudo point out that Makoto's blonde hair breaks school rules, so Harawaki inspects it nervously, but Makoto grabs his face and throws him away. Scared Harawaki babbles that Makoto can keep his hair if it's stylish, but Hatanaka overhears and snips Harawaki's hair sprout for ignoring rules. Zashiki walks in bragging about slaying monsters in her video game, but Harawaki asks her to stop wearing trousers under her sailor skirt. She kicks his face, calling him a creep, but when he persists, a mummified policeman, Yaokai, drags him off for inappropriate comments. After Harawaki gone, Zashiki offers gaming consoles to friends, but Hatanaka anakes them. He tells Harawaki to lock them in a safe to prevent magical theft, but Nuyudo and Zashiki overhear and run to the class to plan and take revenge. They learn Hanaka has been taking phones from other ghouls too, so they plan a nighttime break-in. That night, Haija, Nuyudo, the Otaka brothers, and Zashiki sneak into the office, but when they see the shadows, they scream thinking they're caught, but it's only Harawaki who mistook them for thieves. He offers to unlock the safe and return their games, but as he opens it, a magical cage traps them. Mickey and Hatanaka emerge, revealing it was a setup to catch rule breakers, and Harawaki was also part of the plan. The Wind and Thunder God duo, Otaka brothers, bring a storm, breaking the cage, and the teachers chase them through the halls. Hatanaka gives Mickey alcohol, boosting his powers, but the Thunder God throws a bolt, missing Mickey, but putting fire to Harawaki's jacket, and a panicked Hawaki hits the fire alarm. The chaos pauses as they realize it was a misunderstanding where the teachers thought the students were after midterm papers, not their games. Hataka returns the devices to avoid further trouble, but Harawaki's alarm triggers fire brigades, now surrounding the campus, and soon the sirens blare as ghouls scatter to save their asses. The next day, Harawaki tells his students that he will be interviewed by the Yakai TV show called Ghoul Memoirs, who are planning to make a documentary on him. The students tell him that it is a bad idea because he is a wimp who has a uniform fetish, and this panics Harawaki, who thinks that he should give up. But the ghouls stop him from doing that, saying that they will help him become the best teacher so he doesn't end up embarrassing himself. After some time, a butterfly ghoul and her scary assistant introduce themselves to Harawaki, telling that they are from the TV show, and they will interview him today. Jarawaki takes them to his class to introduce his excited students, who are all set to make a television debut. Harawaki stands beside his desk to teach, but jumps in surprise when he realizes that he has brought his uniform collection book instead of the class textbook. He tries to calm down, but he smashes his body inside the blackboard again in fear. And Hatanaka, from the other class, asks what the hell is wrong with him. After the class is over, the butterfly ghoul asks Harawaki to guide her to the next class to record it for the documentary. The next class is Hatanaka, where the ghouls will practice real scaring, and Harawaki also joins in. Hatanaka opens a deserted classroom and reveals that it leads to Honshu, the deserted shopping district, where they are supposed to test their skills. But a ghoul named Utagawa points out that Harawaki is not a suitable scare target because he is a loner with no friends. So, the news of the scarings won't spread quickly, so Hatanaka announces that old kids, sick, and pregnant women should not be scared. Soon the training begins, and Utagawa and Nuyudo are asked to go first. Soon they come across two ugly boys talking about their girlfriends, so the duo decide to make them their target. Utagawa approaches the boys as a lost girl asking for directions, and she soon turns into a ghastly skeleton, scaring the underscore out of them, and then Nudo blocks their way and scares them away with his one-eyed face. Next off is Muna and Hija, and suddenly they see a woman with an afro cut, so they decide to scare her, but as soon as they do that, the woman throws a lump of salt on Hija's face. The woman is in fact an evil spirit catcher who is hired by two high school students, and soon she starts chasing after the duo with her axe in order to exorcise them. Later, the duo tell Hatanaka the entire mishap and inform him that they have tied her to a tree for now. Next off is the cat Akasama and the cute raccoon Mimkichi. Soon they come across two high school girls, and Akasami turns into a kitten, drawing the attention of the girls. Mimkichi turns into a raccoon dog, but instead of scaring, the two end up making friends with the high schoolers. Hatanaka decides to send Makoto and Haruwaki this time, and Haruki is jumping in joy. On their way, Makoto tells him that he has been losing less magic because he has trouble controlling his mind. Haruwaki asks him to not worry because if something wrong happens, he will exercise Makoto's magic with his powers. Makoto gets ready to use his powers on a man with a dog, but his powers go wild and the dig ends up going berserk and starts chasing Haruwaki. The poor Haruwaki gets bitten and at the same time he gets hit with a bicycle, making him hang upside down with blood pouring down his nostrils. Hadan asks him if he is okay, and a bitter Haruwaki asks him to get another pair of glasses if he feels that Haruwaki looks okay. Hadan advises them to scare people peacefully, and suddenly Makoto removes the duo's clothes, scaring a poor woman away. Back in the class, the director thanks Haruwaki for his time, but the students are not convinced, and they are sure that Haruwaki has been filmed making a fool of himself, so they hatch a plan to help him. Later, when Haruwaki is giving a final interview, Haija turns up with the other guys dressed as bad boys, and Anichi explains to Makoto that Haija and others are playing as villains to highlight Haruwaki's skills. Soon, they start their act and tie a group of students to a pole, forcing Haruwaki to scold them, but Makoto asks him to man up and use more force. Finally, Haruwaki manages to use a deep voice, and the bad boys back off, giving a good scene to the TV crew. Then the director announces that they'll continue to shoot the club activities, but suddenly a marshmallow ghoul starts falling off the railing and Haruwaki runs off to save him. But as soon as he does, he starts falling down too. But thankfully his beloved students catch him midway and Makoto scolds him for being an idiot. Later the assistant director, who is a huge man, pulls them up. After the shoot is over, the documentary is aired and Haruwaki is happy, but his students still feel that something is off. After some time, Haruwaki receives a call from his relative asking him to visit Osaka, and Haruwaki agrees, while the three ghouls who overhear him are overjoyed because they will secretly accompany him to the mainland. The next day, Makoto, Manichi, Haija, and Zashiki reach Osaka to visit Haruwaki. While they are in a restaurant having lunch, Manichi points out that Zashiki has not returned yet from the toilet. Soon, Zashiki comes out, but she is followed by two boys hitting on her, so she asks the guys to help her. Makoto asks Haija to move his and help their friend, but before he can, a man looking exactly like their teacher appears out of nowhere and drills some sense into the stalkers. The guy looks like Haruwaki, but he is wearing a rather classy outfit with sunglasses. But suddenly, Haruwaki runs towards Makoto and hugs him down the waist, causing him to gross out. Later, they learn that the Haruwaki has a twin named Amoki, and they are opposites. They hop into the car to go to Haruwaki's home, and to save a seat, they have turned Haija into a muddy shape. Soon, they reach Haruwaki's family home, the Abe Shrine, and Haruwaki tells Makoto that he has explained everything to his mom, since Makoto is the only one who knows about the shrine. Suddenly, a man in kimono, who is Haruwaki's relative, comes running to greet him, but Haruwaki kicks him in the guts to prevent him from telling the secret of the shrine. When the ghouls ask about the poor man on the ground, Haruwaki replies that he is just a bound spirit. Haruwaki also asks her mom to keep a secret from the ghouls that they are running a shrine. Inside, they sit together, and Haruwaki's mom is happy to see his son's friends, and tells them about Haruwaki's funny antics and childhood memories. But soon, Amma walks in and starts insulting his brother for being a stupid teacher, and when his mom scolds him, he asks her to watch her favorite TV show. After this, he throws the ghouls out of the house, saying that his brother can't stay with a bunch of ghosts, and he will make him resign. He warns the ghouls to stay away from his brother. When Haruwaki asks Amma about him being so antsy with the ghouls, he replies that he doesn't want his brother to live with a bunch of weird creatures. Hearing bad about themselves, Haija bypasses the door and asks Amma to get over his brother's complex. But seeing Haija in ghoul form, M collapses in fear. Later, Haruwaki's mother apologizes to them and asks them to join their annual shrine festival and help them with the shops. Soon, they reach the venue and are shocked to see so many shops. Haruwaki suggests that the ghouls help with the game shops, and they all readily agree. After setting up a few game shops, the ghouls start playfully bullying Haruwaki with Makoto, making a bullseye diagram on his shirt, and Haija almost hitting his tummy with his mud balls. Haruwaki warns them that they should keep themselves low and avoid getting caught by humans. At night, the celebrations begin, and Haruwaki, Amma, and Makoto are at the water balloon shop, and Haruwaki offers to bring something to eat. After he leaves, Amma tells Makoto that he doesn't have any exorcism powers, making his brother the only one who has the powers of the ancestors. He explains that when he was very young, their father asked him to not open a door in which a strong soul snatcher ghoul is exercised and trapped. But accidentally, their father ended up opening the door, and soon the soul snatcher gets out. The ghoul was about to steal their father's soul, but Haruaki unknowingly saved them with his magical power. When Makoto asks why they didn't tell Haruaki about his magical powers, Amma reveals that when they were about to, Haruaki had already thrown all the ghosts away with his strong powers. So, they gave him a string of pearls to suppress that power. When Amma expresses his fear for his brother's well-being, Makoto assures him that he will take care of Haruaki if things go downhill, because his powers don't affect Makoto much. He asks Amma to trust his brother, who is an excellent teacher. When Haruaki overhears the conversation, he runs in to hug Haruaki in happiness and drowns him in the pool. Seeing them going along, Amma silently wishes well for his brother. The next day, the ghouls are at the station ready to leave with Haruaki, and Amma asks Makoto to take care of his brother. The next day is Ghoul School Sports Day, and the principal declares it open. The weirdo with the mask announces that the class who will come last would be asked to disappear, and the salary of their homeroom teacher will be cut. He adds that the teacher of the loser class will be forced to wear red underwear and teach, making Haruaki to protest for his human rights. Haruaki is given the task of collecting and checking the scavenger hunt relay question papers, and from his class, Mizuka, Zashiki, and Hija will join. Soon the scavenger hunt relay begins, and a small Mikichi suddenly transforms into a big buff man with abs and strong legs, and becomes the first person to reach the box with questions. After seeing the question, Mikichi runs towards his class and picks up Makoto in his arms, revealing that he has a best friend as his question, so he is taking his best friend Makoto. Then he passes the baton to Zashiki, who runs off at full speed and picks up her question, revealing that he has to get the sword of the Dragon King. Seeing this, she changes her direction and runs off to bring the sword. Meanwhile, Hija is desperately waiting for her to return, and soon he hears Zashiki calling his name, saying that she has brought the sword of the king. She hands over the sword to Hija, saying that she had this in her dormitory because she once got it from the dragon, but forgot to return. Soon Hija draws his question, but realizes that he has got a tough one in which he has to select a classmate he secretly dislikes. He weighs a bunch of options like choosing Zashiki, as she will not mind since she is his childhood sweetheart. But he ends up getting confused, realizing that all his classmates are amazing. So he sees a crumpled question in Mikichi's hand and asks him to lend it to him, and he gladly does. The question this time is Hiji's crush, and he runs off to the toilets to collect Mikito and sprints to the finish line to grab the first prize. After the race is over, Haruaki hugs Hija fiercely, and when Mikito asks Hija to show his question, he realizes that he ended up reading it wrong. When Mikito sees that the question mentions a secret crush and Hija chose him, things become awkward between the two, with Hija desperately pleading that there has been a misunderstanding. A flustered Mikito tells Hija that he wishes to remain his friend, and Hija almost dies from embarrassment. The next is Mandaroga throwing battle, in which Haruki gets hit by one, but recovers quickly when his dear students ask him to review their teams for the horseback battle. Soon the horseback match begins, and the contestants are supposed to take the headbands of other participants. They decide to follow Haruwaki's plan, and according to that, Uda turns into a giant and hides participants in his mouth, while the fast ones like Miko, Aki, and Mikichi are giving others a tough time. Mikichi turns into a long-arm tool and takes away all the headbands in one go, finally lands on his butt away from his horse, Makoto causing him to be disqualified. Soon a fight breaks out between others to take the headbands from Mikichi, but Haruwaki's other students, like the future predictor Karashi, manages to take them back. But while Haruwaki is celebrating, Muto's team is surrounded by other classes, but Hija's magic mud swamps helps them. But suddenly Maeda joins in and turns into a mermaid, taking his teammates in the sky. The sudden flying makes Habe sick, but Utagawa helps them with her skills, and finally Class 2-3 counterattacks. Mida asks Hija to use his mud swamp to get the other ghouls off their backs, but a sick Hija ends up vomiting on Mida, making him drown in a pool of nest. After a lot of defeats, Uda and Muto's team, because everyone from Class 23 has been eliminated. Haranaka and Miki start celebrating the defeat of the class, but the principal reminds them that Harawaki's class still has Zashi Ki's team. It turns out that Harawaki advised her to turn invisible and snatch a lot of headbands, and hearing this, the principal realizes that Harawaki has a knack of organizing ghouls and asking them to follow orders. Thanks to Zashi Ki, Harawaki's class placed third, and soon Aldanaka asks him to bring sports equipment from the sports room, and Makoto accompanies him to help. While they are transferring the logs, a ghoul accidentally trips over a bunch of logs, knocking down Harawaki's ladder and making him fall on the floor. But suddenly, the logs are about to fall on Haruhi when Makoto jumps in to rescue him and pushes him to a safe place. But Makoto doesn't use his magic and trips over a log which falls on him, and he is barely able to move. As soon as Hanaka hears the chaos, he transforms his arms to cut off the log and save Makoto, but he notices that Haldawaki is sobbing in helplessness. To save Makoto, Harawaki fills himself with a burst of energy, and he single-handedly removes the lungs and runs off to the medical room with Makoto. The doc says that Makoto has a sprain, and he will heal soon, but he can't participate in sports day now. His classmates start sobbing, and Hiji even turns into a liquid slime because of shock, while Mimiki attaches himself to Makito and keeps crying. Makoto assures them that it's not a big deal, so they should stop with their weird antics. The next competition is where each class selects a representative of an animal, an inanimate and a humanoid ghoul, and the three will participate in an obstacle relay race. But Makito is the runner in the race, but Harawaki asks him to not participate. Soon everyone starts getting ready for the last match, and soon the race begins with the cat participating from Harawaki's class. He comes across the first obstacle, which is a log-style balance beam. But when the cat learns that it hurt Makito before he uses his long claws to tear it apart. Next obstacle is the toy heaven, but the cat closes his eyes to avoid temptation and runs off at full speed and hands over the baton to the silk sheet ghoul. The silk sheet sprints in full speed towards the finishing line, but he comes across the wind obstacle. He takes out the science club's special explosive and defeats the wind ghouls. He hands over the ribbon to Harawaki, who decides to replace Miko, but he has to cross a 1,000-tier vaulting box. Everyone thinks that this is the end of Harawaki, but Makito reveals to them Harawaki's powers. The others are scared that it might end up hurting the ghouls as well, but they still want to give it a try to help their teacher. Everyone runs off to take their positions and help Harawaki while the principal appears behind Miko and asks if he plans on using Harawaki's exorcism powers. The students appear before Harawaki in his favorite collection of uniforms, and the ground erupts in laughter. But his students motivate him to give his best, so Harawaki takes his position, and to everyone's surprise, he climbs the vault at full speed, activates his powers, and jumps to the other side, and everyone looks at him in awe. Harawaki manages to cross the vault, and then he clears all the other obstacles, and finally crosses the leading racer with an unstoppable force and wins the race. Then he runs towards his students who are dressed in uniform, and clicks their pictures saying that he is honored. And Kido asks the pervert to return to the ground, otherwise he will call the police on him. Harawaki's class ends up winning, but they still make Harawaki wear red underwear because he embarrassed them in front of the whole school, and the parents complain that he is a pervert obsessed with uniforms. It's Makoto's birthday soon, and he starts receiving presents because he is the popular one. Soon Harawaki enters the classroom and asks everyone to take their seats, but Makichi points out that he is Harawaki's doppelganger. Makoto pulls the fake Harawaki by his tie and class Ha and Zashiki. Outside the classroom, Makito asks why he came to the island, and why the hell does he keep being a hopeless brother lover. Ama reveals that he has locked Harawaki in a toilet, and now he wishes to become Harawaki for a day to see if he has fulfilled his teacher duties well, so the others decide to help him. Makoto tells his classmates that Harawaki has lost his memories, and that has caused some personality change as well. But suddenly, Yutagawa enters the classroom apologizing for being late because she was saving a kitten. Suddenly, she turns into a skeleton, and Emma collapses because he can't deal with ghouls and is barely able to stand. The students try their best to bring Harawaki's memory back because apart from Makoto and his friends, no one knows that Ama is impersonating his brother. They show a sailor uniform, but Ama is unbothered. Later, Yanagade comes with a medicine to help Harawaki, but it turns out to be of no use. After getting rid of Yanagade, Makoto asks Ama if he has gotten used to ghouls now, but Ama is still scared of the non-humanoid ones. Suddenly, they hear a loud thud, and it turns out that Kisame, a long-necked ghoul, has tripped, and Emma quickly picks her up to take her to the medical room. making her fluster, and a nervous Emma trips and falls, fainting again. He wakes in the medical room with the students crying and looking at him with worry. Emma realizes that everyone cares for his brother, and they are trying their best to help him get well soon. So he tells Makoto that he is returning to Osaka, and he should keep this incident a secret from Haruwaki. Later, Makoto rescues Haruwaki from the toilet and kicks his for being a pervert again. Haruwaki is on his way to the class thinking why the hell was he locked in the washroom when he comes across Mamayama and learns that she is planning to give Makoto a gift for his birthday. But she is a bit shy. Yanage Tada, who was hearing their conversation, offers to give Mamayama his customized perfume that will help her become bold and charming. He sprays a bit on the duo. After a while, when Hija appears in the hallway, the scent messes with his brain, and he runs towards Mamayama, takes her hand and confesses to her with hard eyes, and soon everyone starts confessing to Mamayama. Haruwaki starts running to save his life, and Yanage Tada explains that the perfume has the effect of attracting male ghouls. Nayudo, who doesn't have a nose and is not affected by the perfume, offers to make a curtain to help them, but suddenly they come to a dead end of the hallway. Haruwaki calls for Makoto to help them, so he appears in an instant and kicks the asses of the students, asking why the hell are they behaving like zombies in love. He uses his magic, but ends up ripping the shirt off the boys, turning the entire school into a pervert. They start running again, but this time Haruki asks the marshmallows to bring the water cage of the swimming pool boss in the courtyard. He asks Makoto to carry Mamayama and jump in the water, and a handsome Makoto follows the order. As soon as the perfume washes off, everyone returns to normal, embarrassed that they are naked in the yard. Later, Makoto asks Mamayama if she is okay, and she thanks him for lending his handkerchief the other day and gives him a Tanuki printed handkerchief. But when Makoto opens it, it turns out to be underwear. And as soon as everyone sees it, they go wild, yelling that today is Makoto's underwear anniversary. Mamayama apologizes and says that there has been a shuffle because the underwear section was right next to the handkerchief at the department store. Makoto politely returns it and runs off to kill his perverted friends who are still making fun of him. At night, the students arrange for an one-in bath because water supply at the dorms has been cut off. At the female area, the girls are talking about their type of guy, and Mamayama asks Zashiki about Makoto's type. On the other hand, the guys are busy talking about the boys' stuff. After coming out, there is an awkward silence while the boys look at the girls as if they stop the hell out of them. While Nudo runs after Utagawa because he overhears that she likes him, the entire Hayaki Island is buzzing with the news of an animal ghoul kidnapper who kidnaps the animals but returns them after shaving their hair. A worried Haruwaki is talking to Miki when Makoto asks him if he has seen Minichi. Miki points out why the hell is Makoto out of the class when Hatanaka must be teaching them. The others two barge in the staff room saying that Hatanaka has not come to the class and other animal ghouls are also missing. Confirming their worst fears, Haruwaki and Makoto jump off the window to bring their friends and teacher back while Nudo informs the police. On the other hand, Hatanaka, Mimkichi, and the cat realize that they are locked in a cage with other animals around them. Soon a crow ghoul emerges and introduces himself as the vice captain of the Kuresu gang. The gang leader sees through his camera that the ghoul's friends are on their way to rescue them, and he comes up with a plan. He sends a huge group of ladies towards Miki, who is technically afraid of women because he has 5 elder sisters who boss him around, and this has affected his dating life. Soon the women attach themselves to Miki, leaving him stranded alone. Meanwhile, Makoto is looking for Haru and Miki when hundreds of Haruwaki clones start hugging him, making him realize that he has been trapped. While the real Haruwaki comes across a convenience store, but almost wets his pants when he sees that 2 high schoolers are sitting in front of it. The marshmallow asks him to man up and face them because if he backs down, he will be a bad teacher. Hearing this, Haruwaki confronts the rogues, but they start bullying him. This scares Haruwaki and activates his powers, sending shockwaves and breaking the spell cast by the gang leader. Inside, the baddies are ready with their clippers to shave the ghoul animals and see their fur for thousands of dollars. When the kidnapper's secretary sees Haruwaki's powers through his CCTV, he realizes that Haruwaki is the person he was always looking for. The kidnapper's secretary appears before Haruwaki and asks what magic he uses to break Karosu Tengu's spell. To hide his identity, Haruwaki lies that he works in the factory, but the crow secretary was not buying his lie. Soon the captain of the gang comes and he learns that Haruwaki is not actually semi-Abe, but only his ancestor. He offers Haruwaki to join his Karosu gang and not work for an ill-tempered principal. But suddenly, the masked principal appears and asks Karasu to stop behaving like a kid, and also stop taking his people away from him. Karasu accuses the principal for being obsessed with Haruwaki's ancestors, and Haru is dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Haden and his students have managed to escape, but Mikichi is scared that the gang members will find them somehow and use them for food. Hearing this, the cat ghoul starts sobbing and confesses that he doesn't wish to die soon because he wants to become Naoto's pet cat once he gets married. Hatanaka yells at him that he is a fake cat ghoul, and in that commotion, the minion of the kidnappers find them. Mimsy yells for his best friend, and Makoto soon appears and lands a kick on the kidnapper's butt. Mim hugs Makoto and complains about what happened to them while they were kidnapped. But before Makoto can do anything, the minion throws a sorcery stone towards them, making them run for their lives. Mickey manages to stop one, but the rogue throws a few at them and Mickey gets buried under one. Then the ghoul comes for Makito, but he uses his magic and breaks the bridge, causing the sorcery stones to fall down on the principal and the gang's secretary and captain, who were fighting with each other on who will keep Haruwaki. The vice captain pulls them out and asks them to run for their lives, but they all get caught in a mud puddle made by Heezy. Soon all the ghouls of the Class 2-3 appear, and Sashiki has already called the police. But the trio breaks free of Heezy's puddle and escapes. But the next day, everything settles down and Haruwaki is glad that there are no more crimes. It's the day of camping on the beach at the outskirts of the island, but it turns out that Haruwaki and his class have been tricked into staying a night at a haunted school building for their spookology test, organized by the evil Hatanaka. At night before going to bed, Haruwaki asks his kids if they have girlfriends, but the ghouls have none. Soon Haruwaki walks in kicking Haruwaki for talking romance with his students. Then he asks them to sleep if they don't want a good night kiss from Mickey. At night, the cat wakes up Nuyudo to take him to the bathroom. And on the way, they come across Sashiki, who tells them that Utagawa has not yet returned from the toilets. They go to the toilets together, and after some time, Nuyudo tells Sashiki that he is coming inside the girls' washrooms to look for Utagawa, but as soon as he steps in, he starts viewing weird things, and a hand drags him inside. On the other hand, the cat ghoul looks for Nudo, but gets chickened out when he starts hearing noises and strange sounds of footsteps. He crawls inside Haruwaki's room and tells him about the disappeared kids. The other students too walk and saying that 10 from their class keep on missing. Soon they hear Hatanaka's voice announcing that the spookology exam has begun, and the alumni of Haki Academy will try their best to scare them. One of the alumni has a key to the main door, and if they manage to defeat him, then they can escape. But if not, then they will spend half their vacation in extra classes. The students divide themselves in 4 groups, but suddenly a yakai with black teeth appears out of nowhere. But the ice school freezes it. Meanwhile, the group on the first floor is being chased by a classroom skeleton, an anatomical model, and a kindred ghoul, so they hide in the medical room. Inside, they find their regular school doctor, who also studied at Hayaki 100 years ago. He introduces them to evil yakai, who have pretty faces as masks, but reveal their true face and eat others. Soon Hatanaka announces that only 11 remain, and Manichi yells in fright that they will have to find the key before everyone gets caught. Yanya declares that if they fail, then he will use his special medicine to blow up this place and escape. But suddenly Yanja doubles up, indicating that a doppelganger yakai has run into him. Manichi tries to scare the fake one with a rocket, but suddenly Yanja comes up with an idea of using his medicine on the fake one. As soon as he throws the medicine, an explosion takes place on the 3rd floor, and the others get roasted, indicating that Team 3 has also been caught. Another group is on their way to scare Hatanaka, but they get freaked out when they see a night parade outside the window. The parade starts attacking them, and soon a skeleton train coach captures Zashiki and others, leaving Haija to chase after them. Group 4, on the other hand, is worried for the other kids, but suddenly Nudu comes out of nowhere saying that he got attacked by a weird yakai. He asks them if they found the key, but Hawaki feels that something is off with Nudo and tells Makito. Soon a mouse comes running with the key, and the ice lady stops him to take it back. But it turns out that it was just the mouse sensei making a fool out of them by using a candy stick as keys. Soon the group 4 goes to the 1st floor, but Haruwaki sees blood handprints on the wall, and he warns Miko. Suddenly a bowl-cut girl with a sailor uniform appears, attracting Haruwaki. But Makito pulls him away, and they all run for their lives. Soon the bowl cut catches the cat ghoul, but the ice lady saves him, but he gets caught by a stalking yakai. Soon they see the night parade carriage with Sashiki and others trapped inside coming towards them, but Hyja drowns it in his mud puddle. Hyja and Ice Girl offer to stop the yakai, while the others run off to look for the key. While running, Mikito realizes that something is bothering him, and he knows for sure that the teachers won't abandon them no matter what. They stop for a while and see that the sun is rising and their time is running low, but Mikito catches Haruwaki saying that he has the key. Haruwaki hands over the key and unlocks the door, and everyone praises Mikito for finding out. Mikito explains that Haruwaki kept saying weird things and had his hand in his pocket the entire time they were running. Then Cat Cool asks the fake Nuyudo to show up because his best friend would have never left him alone in the washroom. The fake Nuyudo reveals his true identity, and he turns out to be a mummy cop who is an alumnus of Hayaki Academy too. Soon they find all their missing friends, and the alumni yakai leave the campus, and everyone starts talking about how Haruwaki made a fool of himself by talking to an imaginary sailor girl. Today Haruwaki has to pay home visits to the homes of students, but he is dead tired, because since the last few days he has barely saved himself from being eaten by his student. Yakai parents, pets, and siblings. When he is asked to visit Minkich's home, he takes Makoto along with him. Soon they come in front of a huge mansion, and when they walk in, at least a dozen bodyguards greet them. Haruwaki can't believe that Main lives in a huge house with so many guards, but his jaw drops on the floor when he meets Main's 30 siblings. The siblings introduce themselves, and the youngest of them takes the two inside. Haruwaki and Mikito meet Main Kitch's scary parents, and they both are samurais. Mad's dad is unwilling to have a human as their son's teacher, and asks Haruwaki to prove that he is enough in a battle of strength. Minkichi explains that his father does this test on every homeroom sensei, and only Mickey managed to come back alive last year. Soon the old hag starts running after Haruwaki, chasing him with his axe, but Haruwaki is unwilling to use his exorcism power in front of a parent, so he slams his fist on the ground and suppresses his powers. He then goes on to blackmail his dad that he will tell his wife about him fancying another woman from Mickey's hometown. He gathers his courage and keeps a tough attitude, and tries to convince the old hag that he is a teacher who can go to extreme lengths to save his students. Finally, the old hag agrees and asks Haruwaki to take care of his son, while Makoto and the others look at how easily Haruwaki gained Man's father's approval forcefully. Soon Man's mom enters the room and turns his husband into a raccoon dog, because he overheard about Mickey's hometown incident, and then she acknowledges that Haruwaki has earned her respect by convincing her husband without using magic. But suddenly, Main Kit's youngest sibling pecks Haruwaki's lips, causing their father to chase after Haruwaki, making him resolve to not go on home visits anymore. After the home visits, Haruwaki is on a visit to other schools in Kyoto with the other teachers. He is fascinated by so many students wearing uniforms. He also learns from the mouse sensei that Haruwaki and Mickey are old-time friends from school. Mickey recalls how in their teenage years, when a bird took away the mouse sensei, they got a chance to escape the boring temple visits, which is like walking inside a ditch for ghouls. But on their way, they bumped into a man who looked like Haruwaki, and he started crying. Soon they notice a boy crying for his older brother, and Haddock ends up scaring him more. The boy is not a human and keeps using strange magical tricks and dropping things on the trio's heads. When Haruwaki buys him an ice cream, the boy tells him about how he got lost. When the duo asks Haruwaki, he tells them that he got lost while finding Nagoya Station. Hatanaka and Mickey are fed up with Haruwaki's antics because they are forced to carry him to the washroom. When they come back, they realize that the lost boy's toy has been taken away by the garbage truck. Haruwaki runs after it at full speed, and Mickey and Hatana follow him on a police bicycle. Then Hanukkah throws a stone at the bird that is carrying Mr. Mouse, and when the mouse lands on the garbage truck, he asks him to kick the toy out. Soon Haruwaki catches the toy, and they also manage to find the boy's older brother, who gives him an amulet as a token of thanks. Soon the principal finds Hatanaka and Mickey and thanks Haruwaki, whispering that they will meet again. After narrating the past story, Mickey wonders what happened to the strange guy who got lost in Kyoto. Soon Haruwaki returns from the toilet, and when asked why he looks so beaten, he replies that he is just a bit envious of Mickey and Hatanaka, who are very close to each other while he barely has any friends. So the kind duo allows Haruwaki to call them by their first names so they can become close friends, and Haruwaki gladly accepts. The summer holidays kick off, and the students ride a bus to Tokyo for their school trip. As they prepare to hop off, Minkichi yells that their teacher, Haruwaki, is missing. Makoto dials Harawaki's number and learns he gets swept into a subway by a crowd and now wanders somewhere unknown. Makoto urges him to return since Harawaki is terrible with directions and can't handle the subway alone. But Harawaki's phone shuts off mid-call. Makoto shares the news with Hatanaka, who nods and agrees to join the search for Harawaki, while Mr. Mouse stays behind to watch the class. Mr. Mouse lays out the search rules. Ghouls must avoid human eyes, they cannot reveal their true selves, and non-human ghouls need disguises to blend in. The students scatter across Tokyo, each using their unique abilities to track down Harawaki. At a Sekisa temple, some ghouls get tangled up, snapping photos with tourists, while sharp-eyed ones scale Tokyo Tower to scan the city for their teacher. Zashiki, distracted, darts off to buy video games, and Makoto phones the group to report that Harawaki isn't at the station. Out of nowhere, Dr. Takahashi and his friend, a doppelganger cop, approach Makoto and his team, inviting them to a friend's tea shop. But Makoto senses something off and hesitates. Meanwhile, Harawaki fumbles at the subway, and as he tries to exit the train, his amulet slips off his bag and falls. A man who looks like Makoto scoops it up and hands it back, saying Harawaki seems familiar from a TV show. The man offers to guide Harawaki, but first he leads him to a fancy restaurant. Over food, Harawaki mentions the amulet came from a boy he helped in Kyoto long ago. The man's eyes widen as he realizes he was that boy who gave Harawaki the amulet after Harawaki helped him find his brother. This man is Makoto's brother, but Harawaki doesn't know that yet. They stroll back after buying a battery for Harawaki's dead phone when word spreads that a department store nearby catches fire. Harawaki's heart races, and he recalls a Zashiki child spirit that lives there. He bolts toward the burning store, but Makoto's brother grabs his arm, warning that Harawaki doesn't understand the ghoul world and might hurt himself or others. Harawaki insists the child could be his student someday, so he must save her. Inside, Harawaki spots a magical spell and breaks it, revealing the Zashiki girl sobbing in an elevator. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the building and fire engulfs everything. A stone crashes into Harawaki's head and blood trickles down his face. He fumbles for his phone and calls Makoto, explaining the danger and begging for help. Makoto barks orders to Nudo to search for smoke. Nudo grabs the mermaid boy, sources into the sky, and pinpoints the blazing store. Before they can rush there, the ghoul air defense force swoops in and detains them. Makoto directs the thunderstorm boys to summon rain over the store to douse the flames. As Makoto scrambles to plan, the Zashiki girl panics, staring at Harawaki's bloody face. Harawaki racks his brain to contact Makoto again, but a strange feeling washes over him. The spirit of the boy from Kyoto appears and tugs him toward a staircase. The boy vanishes, leaving Harawaki at a massive door, and Harawaki pushes it open and stumbles onto a rooftop, gasping for air. Smoke chokes his lungs and he collapses, but realizes the amulet from that boy saves him. And in a flash, he understands that the boy was Makoto, his student. Rain pours down as Makoto and the thunderstorm boys race to Harawaki's side. Yanjita transforms into a magical silk carpet ready to whisk them away, but the fire spreads faster. Then an underground pipe bursts, flooding the area with water. Hayaki wonders aloud if a fortune deity causes this miracle, and Makoto overhears and smiles to himself because he knows it's his brother, the fortune deity, lending a hand to save them all. The semester is over and everyone is excited for the holidays. Haija and Zashiki are in their hometown. While Haija's sister is using him as a specimen to practice her skills, their mom tells him that Nuyudo has come to visit them, and Haija runs off to see his beloved friend. Nuyudo looks visibly worried, so Haija asks him to talk to their homeroom teacher, but Nuyudo feels that nothing will change even if he does that. Soon, Zashiki walks in with 3 cups of crushed ice and syrup, and as usual, she gives the mud one to Iya. On the other hand, Manichi, Akasumi, and Renju are in Akiyama, and Mine keeps catching Renju's family members who are insects, while Hatanaka is busy babysitting Main Kitch's siblings because their father is in Kyoto again, flirting with Miki, who by chance happened to be there at the flower house. Maiwan Harawaki is at his home when Makoto visits him, saying that the principal asked him to do that. Then he tells Harawaki that he has joined a part-time job for summers, and he will soon return to the Hayaki Island. So Harawaki tells him that he will join him. Later, they call for a taxi, and surprisingly, Yanja comes in with his vehicle, saying that he has been teaming at a taxi service because he can't afford to blow up the school with his medicine experiments. Soon, he takes them to Hayaki Island with the speed of a lightning bolt. At the academy, Haruwaki collects his ghoul uniform book and plans to pay a visit to Makoto at his new job at the old bookstore. There he comes across Kira-sama, who used to be a part of the kidnapping gang, and Makoto almost comes for his throat, but Kira-sama assures him that he has turned into a good guy. Haruwaki then goes around the bookstore to read a few books, but a blue-colored one seems to attract him the most. Suddenly, a mysterious blue man appears in a flash and tells Haruwaki that the book is a good collection of tricks. The dumb Haruwaki starts reading the book, and the more he reads, the things mentioned in the book starts happening inside the bookstore. Suddenly, Makoto and Kira-sama start feeling weird, and when they try to walk out, the door doesn't open, making Haruwaki realize both Mikito and Kira-sama have become the characters of the book. Miko almost strangles him to death for dragging them into this nonsense. Kira-sama points out that they won't be able to leave the bookstore until Haruwaki ends the book, and until then, they are hostages. Haruwaki suggests that he will keep reading and asks the duo to stay safe. And soon Haruwaki continues, and things keeps happening in real life. Suddenly the light goes off, and as mentioned in the book, when Haruwaki tries to use a flashlight to look around. They shriek in fear when they see Kirama lying unconscious on the floor with no pulse. A scared Haruwaki changes the contents of the book, and soon Kira-sama comes back to life, revealing that he was floating in a pool of blood in his dream. To end the nonsense, Haruwaki tries to write the end in the book, but the pencil doesn't move. Kira-sama suggests writing the name of his gang member Banmal as the new character, and soon he walks in. The trio tell him what's happening inside the bookstore, and suddenly Kira-sama starts strangling Makoto, saying that he has no control over his body. And soon the book turns into erotic fiction with Kira-sama doing weird things with Makoto. So Haruwaki quickly changes the contents before the two end up kissing each other. Soon an idea dawns on Haruwaki, and he starts turning the book into a grotesque novel with solutions. First, he writes that UDA hits a home run with a meteorite ball. Then, Mikichi catches the huge swarm of locusts that enter the earth. Then, a drunk Mickey throws a huge truck, and Takahashi ends up doing research on an alien. But soon, the book starts sucking everyone inside, but Haruwaki exorcises it and then writes a happy ending to lift the curse of the book. After the chaos is over, Haruwaki flips over the pages to see that the mysterious blue man was the author of the book who couldn't rest in peace. So, he used Haruwaki's powers to communicate with spirits. Everyone gathers at Hiji's house, and Zashiki says she must leave because someone is coming to her family's guest house for an interview. Her family will be in occult magazines since people think ghouls visit their place, and Zashiki explains her 3 dads are human and don't know much about ghouls, so she needs to help them out. At the guest house, they learn Zashiki has 3 fathers named Yumatsu, and 2 bought an old house together and found baby Zashiki while fixing it up, so they raised her as their daughter. The ghouls decide to help Zashiki's dads by scaring the reporters to make the guest house famous. Soon the magazine people arrive with an editor and a scientist who doesn't believe in ghosts and wants to check if the guest house is haunted. The scientist annoys the ghouls a lot, and Hiji almost loses her temper and wants to break his legs. The scientist dares them to scare him away by tomorrow, and Zashiki accepts the challenge and asks for a 5-star review if they succeed. Yanagata brings more students to help, and they all sit together to plan, and Zashiki tells the Ice Girl to start things off. The Ice Girl goes into a room full of dolls and touches the editor with her freezing hands to scare him a little. Then one of Zashiki's dads walks in, and the editor asks about the woman he saw, but the dad says there's no woman working at the inn, which freaks the editor out even more. When the editor opens a snack box, he sees a tiny girl inside and gets terrified thinking the inn has ghouls. But the scientist says it's just a puppet, and the editor imagined it all. Next, Zashiki sends Haruwaki, Kirahashi, and Mamayama, while the Otaku brothers change the sky to make things spooky. As planned, 2 of Zashiki's dads act out a scene where they say a man in room 103 won't come out. And the editor overhears and asks, "What's wrong?" The dads explain room 103 is dangerous and nobody should stay there. But some university students from a paranormal club are in it, and people say a spider woman visits that room and attacks guests. They open the door, and the editor screams when he sees Mamayama with Haruwaki caught in her web. The scientist tries to check it out, but Zashiki warns him to stay away from paranormal stuff, and suddenly the power goes out, and when the lights come back, the web and bodies are gone, but the scientist still has an explanation for everything. Later, Zashiki brings food to Haruwaki and tells him when she was little, she saw one of her dads get dumped by his girlfriend because the woman didn't believe in ghosts and left when he said Zashiki was a ghoul. Back then, only Hyja understood her pain, but they moved on because her 3 dads loved her so much, and now Zashiki wants to repay them by making their guest house famous. Hyja hears this talk, and Haruki says Zashiki will definitely make her dads proud. And then the door breaks because all the ghouls were listening in. Seeing her friends together gives Zashiki hope, and she gets ready to really scare the magazine people. At night, a sorcerer tricks the editor into thinking a wall is the bathroom, and Haruwaki walks upside down on the ceiling, which scares both the editor and scientist badly. They look out the window and panic when they see giant UDA outside, and then Hyja uses her mud tricks to terrify them even more. Finally, Zashiki gives her a big scare, and the scientist faints from fear. The next day, the magazine guys acknowledge that they almost pissed their pants last night, and promise to write a 5-star review. Later, Zashiki's dads give the ghouls free food to thank them for helping their daughter and making the guest house a big success. Haruwaki is on his way to Mickey's hometown in Kyoto, the Flower Street, which is infamous for its ghouls, and soon a group of old ghouls trap him, ready to take his soul away. But Mickey's sister, Ibara, saves him and warns him of the old ghouls who still think that humans are their food. Inside, Haruwaki meets Mickey, who tells him that he has a favor to ask. But when Mickey drops out for a moment, Haruwaki opens a door to another room and shrieks in fright when he sees a giant woman trying to seduce Haruwaki. On hearing Haruwaki, Mickey returns and tells him that the woman in the room is his mom and she has been sealed for seducing men and stealing their vitality. Then he asks Haruwaki to use his magic and eliminate his mom. When Haruwaki looks at him in disbelief, he tells that his mother didn't even spare him, and it's because of her he is forced to drink alcohol. Haruwaki decides to deal with the matter in a peaceful way because he can't misbehave with his friend's mother. He walks inside the room, but the woman captures him in her palm and asks her to give his soul so he won't stay a virgin anymore. But Haruwaki is not happy with the offer. Soon, Ibara walks in scolding Mickey for using Haruwaki to seal their mother, but Mickey declares that he is friends with human and was using Haruwaki all along to get things done for himself. On the other hand, Haruwaki uses his powers and frees himself, but ends up smashing his head in the roof, mumbling that he needs to find another method to deal with the problem. Mickey's sister asks him to leave the house and save himself, because she doesn't want Mickey to lose another human friend. She tells Haruwaki that once Mickey brought his human friend home, but when he left to get some shaved ice for them, their mother devoured his friend, and since then, Mickey doesn't make human friends and hates their mother. Haruwaki starts sobbing and replies that he will not leave Mickey alone and save him. He walks into the ghoul's room again and plans to destroy her magical powers, but realizes that his sorcery is not working anymore. The woman attacks Haruwaki, but Ibara comes in and tries to stop her mother and gets hurt in the process. But suddenly, Hatanaka arrives in a flash and cuts the woman's arm and takes Ibara in his arms, claiming that he will not let anyone harm his wife. Haruwaki is shocked to learn that Ibara is actually Hatanaka's wife, and Yagadara brought Hatanaka on Ibara's request. But suddenly, the ghoul woman attacks again, throwing the 3 across the room. She then starts to suck Haruwaki's soul, but Mickey begs her to stop, offering a part of his soul instead. The woman is not ready to listen and puts Haruwaki's soul in her mouth, but soon spits Haruwaki out, saying that it's not her liking and throws Haruwaki towards Mickey. Mickey recalls how he tried to get close to Haruwaki for his own selfish reason. He was starting to get close to Haruwaki, but one day when he heard that his mother would soon break her seal, he called Haruwaki to help him. With Haruwaki in his arms, Mickey tries to bring him back to life, while Hatanaka gets ready to cut open the woman's stomach to bring back Haruwaki's soul. Even Mickey tries his best, but ends up defeated in front of his mother, who keeps on humiliating him. But suddenly the woman starts feeling weird, and soon she spits Haruwaki's soul, which turns into his ancestor, asking him to come back to life and put an end to this. Soon Haruwaki wakes up with a surge of power because his amulet has been removed. They all start working together to help Haruwaki seal the weird woman, while Haruwaki unleashes a huge surge of power with the help of his friends and throws it towards Mickey's mother and finally seals her. Haruwaki wears his amulet again and the power vanishes. Later they see that their mother has lost all her demonic powers and she has become a minor ghoul. Thanks to Haruwaki, and Mickey and Haruwaki become best friends again. The next morning, Mickey comes to Haruwaki's house with his sister and Hatanaka kids to ask Haruwaki to babysit him. The kids are too mature for their age, with a girl who is strong like her mother and a boy who loves playing RPG games. But while they are busy talking, the girl ends up going to a room full of Haruwaki's uniform collection, and she is terrified to see that she is in the home of a man with a uniform fetish. He threatens to push the safety button and calls Haruwaki a pervert and asks her brother to kick Haruwa's ass, and Haruwaki calls Mikoto for help. The kids are playing and Haruwaki asks them not to go to the warehouse, which has important things. But he doesn't know that a thief is listening to his conversation from the roof. Soon the little girl points out that her brothers are missing, and when the trio goes to look for them, Brother 1 tells them that Brother 2 has been taken away by an old man. Suddenly, Haruwaki jumps in fear, saying that the old man is their neighbor butcher, and he would have assumed Brother 2 as a weasel and he can eat anything. Terrified, they start banging the butcher's door and Mikoto breaks it open. Inside, they run towards Brother 2 to save him from being boiled, but Brother 2 uses his claws and throws the hot water on Haruwaki and Mickey's head. Everyone is happy that he is safe, but Mickey and Haruwaki don't look okay at all. On returning home, Haruwaki sees his brother Aim pointing towards the warehouse, and Haruwaki sees that someone is stealing things from the warehouse. But soon, Miyaki, the doppelganger policeman, comes in Yanagodara's taxi, but the thief runs away with Haruwaki's family's treasure. Haruwaki offers to join Yanago in catching the thief because he has stolen the treasure, but Hadanaki's kids end up trapping Mikoto and Haruwaki them with handcuffs. Haruwaki suggests using the three-legged race method and catching the thief together, but they end up falling together. Meanwhile, Yamazaki is following the thief while Haruwaki and Mikoto are running in sync and catch up with the warehouse thief. They both use their sorcery and magical powers, but end up naked and burnt. Aim comes to their rescue, but Haruwaki asks him to leave because he is scared of ghouls. The thief elongates his claws and asks Mikoto and Haruwaki to back off if they don't wish to see Aim dead. But suddenly, Aim turns into Miyaki and catches the thief, revealing his doppelganger skills. He thanks Mikoto and Haru for their assistance. He returns the treasure to Haruwaki, and they return home. Hatanka has come to collect his kids and breaks the news of Ibara's pregnancy. And later, Haruwaki shows them his limited edition nurse uniform, and everyone throws him out of the house. They are on the beach, and Haija decides to use Mikito as bait to catch women, so he asks Mikito and Momkichi to go to the main beach and work on their castle. As soon as they do that, many women are attracted to Mikito and start coming to him for a candid talk. But Mikichi asks them to not seduce his best friend, driving them away, and Haija and others pull their hair in frustration. Later, Haija sees a bunch of men approaching Zaki and runs off in that direction, but turns out that the guys were actually asking for a men's restroom. But there he sees two seagulls teasing their class girls, so Haija attacks them with his mud balls and angrily asks them to leave the girls alone. But the ghouls who scoop water throw it on them and mock them for being from the countryside. The big ghoul declares that if the girls agree to date him, then he will let them go. But soon the mermaid ghoul with the Iceman freezes the sea ghoul and the girls jump on Yanagitada, who takes them to safety. They soon realize that they have frozen with the sea too. The ghouls who scoop water accidentally throw a bunch of it on Mikoto and Makit's castle, and a furious Mikoto activates all his magical powers and summons the thunderclouds. Soon he drops a bolt of thunder, electrocuting everyone in one go. They return home with their body numb from Mikoto's spell, but Haija soon realizes that tomorrow is August 31st, and he has not done any homework. Meanwhile, Mikoto is writing a paper on the birth of ghouls, and Yanja explains that he came with a paper bag while his brother was born from a printer, making Haruwaki comment that it looks like a giveaway. Then they go to Mimkichi for research, and the Tanuki explains that he was born from his parents since both of them are animal ghouls. Similarly, Akasama and Hanaka are born out of animal ghouls and have a lot of siblings. Next, they go to Odawara's home, the ghoul of Japanese lantern, and learn that their kids are born out of lamps. Odawara was the first lantern in Japan, and he is 300 years old, used during the Edo period by the policeman, but the soul of a sinner entered his body, and that is how he was born. So inanimate objects are usually items that gain powers and spirits and become ghouls. Hija explains that he was born out of the soil, but if one of the parents is a human, then a hybrid ghoul will be born. So they go to Ghoul Ministry. Then he begs Makoto to lend him his notes, but he straightway declines. Then they learn about the birth of the doppelganger, that they appear in random places at some time as heavenly punishments from gods. Hearing this, Yanja agrees, saying that he hates gods who treat the ghouls like sinners. Later, when they return home, Makoto sadly confesses that he is not a ghoul, but a god. But Haruwaki already knew about it, as he read it from the Ghoul Dictionary on his first day. Moreover, Makoto doesn't get affected by his sorcery. Hearing this, Makoto gives him a headlock asking why the hell did he not speak up earlier and starts fighting with Haruwaki. Haruwaki assures him that he will always be a student of class 23 and no one will hate him, and soon Makoto calms down and they both promise to stay together. Soon the September semester begins, and to Haruwaki's surprise, the Tokyo guy joins the school to improve the communication between gods and ghouls. His name is Isuburu Ibisu, and Haruwaki is delighted to see him. Ibisu is now introduced to other teachers, and Miki is keen on becoming friends with the god of fortune. When Hatanaka and Haruwaki leave, Miki asks Ayu why the hell did he join their academy. Ibisu casually replies that he has come as an exchange program, and he already knows about Haruwaki's powers, so he will make sure not to cause trouble. Miki grabs Ibisu's tie and tells him that he already knows a bit about his brother Makoto, so he shouldn't try to mess with him. Haruwaki takes Ibisu to his class, but before they can enter, Ayu comes face to face with his brother, and there is an awkward silence between the two. Haruwaki says that he thinks that Ibisu looks a lot like Makoto, but Makoto dismisses him and walks inside. Soon Ibisu introduces himself as their homeroom teacher, and everyone thinks that he looks a lot like Miko. But Makoto dismisses their claims again, saying he doesn't know the stranger. Soon they start with a short poem class, and everyone is learning a few things while Ibisu is helping along. Mikichi is sulking because he doesn't like Ibisu correcting his poem and angrily huffs, saying that he prefers Haruwaki more. Similarly, Makoto keeps ignoring the new teacher, only asking questions from Haruwaki. After lunch, Haruwaki excitedly runs towards the class to give extra lessons and notes to Akasami, the cat ghoul, but he loses confidence when he sees that Ayu is already popular amongst the peers, and Akasami is taking help from the new teacher. Dejected, he runs at full speed and Makoto follows him, while Zashiki picks up the cat notes book that Haruwaki accidentally dropped. The teachers find him trapped under the table again, hiding away in sadness because he can't accept that the new teacher is better than him. The principal asks Hatanaka and Miki to talk to him and listen to his troubles. Hatanaka steps forward and learns from Haruwaki that he has lost his confidence because he is not good enough for the student. When Haruwaki keeps blaming himself, Hanaka loses his underscore and starts banging his desk, yelling at him to come out. Then Miki steps up asking Haruwaki to open up to them and not worry alone and find a solution together. But Miki ends up shutting him even more after he starts talking about Haruwaki's virginity and other nonsensical stuff. Meanwhile, Makoto is looking for Haruwaki, but his brother approaches him. Makoto asks why he joined the ghoul school, despite hating them so much. Ibisu ignores his question and asks him to find Haruwaki, who is hiding in the teacher's room, and Makoto quickly runs off. He soon finds Haruwaki and asks why the hell he is so depressed these days. He extends his hand, asking Haruwaki to come out, but when he doesn't, he picks him by his throat, pulls him out. Haruwaki sobs that his students always get low marks while he keeps fixating on his own feelings, and he can't teach well like Ayu. Mikoto yells at him, saying that he is the best, however he is, and even if Ibisu promises to increase Akasama's score, Haruwaki can use his unique idiotic way to push his students and help Akasama score 100 points. Moreover, he likes Haruwaki's quirky teaching. Soon, Akasama enters the room and asks Haruwaki to teach him, because he declined Tobishu's offer politely because he loves Haruwaki's way of teaching. Suddenly, other ghouls also enter the room to lift Haruwaki's mood. A happy Haruwaki hugs Akasame and Mikoto, and everyone asks him to be himself. They assure him that idiots like them need an idiot teacher, and soon Haruwaki starts sobbing and hugs everyone. The next day, everyone feels super excited about the night parade, and Haija has a fun idea to open a mermaid cafe where they all wear swimsuits to attract lots of customers. But when Haruwaki suggests opening a uniform cafe, everyone gets upset and shouts that his idea is strange and not cool at all. After some arguing and a bit of a mess where they accidentally break into the principal's office, they finally decide that Class 23 will open a game cafe to pay for the stuff they have broken in school. On their day off, they all get on a train to buy things for the cultural festival, and Iu comes along with them too. Ibisu keeps feeling something weird about the old tram, but he still gets on with everyone else. Inside the train, they see Dr. Takahashi and Utagawa together, and people start yelling at Dr. Takahashi because they think he hangs out with Utagawa in a bad way since she is younger. To clear things up, Utagawa explains that she has no parents and Dr. Takahashi is her guardian, who takes care of her, and she says sorry for not telling everyone sooner. Utagawa looks worried at new Yudo, but he tells her he is okay, and when Haruwaki asks if he wants to say something, Nuyudo shares that his mom was human too, and she passed away a while back. After that, they all start talking about their families and keep chatting for a while. Later, the train goes into a tunnel and stops at a place called Graveyard Town, and Haruwaki gets super scared when he sees skeletons sitting on benches. Takahashi explains that they are just corpses, like the name of the station says. Ibizu thinks the train might have a ghoul inside, so Hatanaka breaks open the driver's door and gets ready to fight whoever is there. But they feel surprised to see the driver's uniform is empty, and Abisu says someone else might be controlling the train. They start investigating what is wrong with the train, but nothing seems to make sense. Suddenly, Hatanaka and Takahashi start floating in the air and fly away to another compartment. Makoto thinks the tram wants the people left behind because they have souls and blood that ghouls don't have. Nudo is half human and Utagawa's soul comes from humans, so the tram likes ghouls from other races and probably hunts them. Meanwhile, Takahashi and Hatanaka come back to the train's dining compartment, but they only see uniforms with no people or ghouls inside. Takahashi uses his syringe to poke the train, and soon the train shakes and all the uniforms start attacking them. After a while, they handle the uniforms and almost wreck the dining compartment. Then they go to the sleeping compartment, but a sweet smell makes Hatanaka sleepy, and Takahashi barely stays awake after using a shot to keep him up. They get scared when they see the train is full of dead humans who turn into creepy ghouls after the train swallows them. Takahashi keeps making them mad by saying he wants to study their bodies and keeps provoking them, even when he is on the verge of dying. At the same time, the others try to figure out what happens with the train when two gloved hands grab Nudo and Utagawa and pull them away. Haruwaki runs after them to save them and figures out the hands belong to the train conductor. He tricks the conductor by saying some people ride without tickets, so the hands go away to find those passengers. Now Makoto and his brother stay alone, and when a hand tries to grab ISU, he breaks it in half with just a flick of his hand. And Makoto says IU never changes, but soon more conductor hands show up in Makoto's coach and they get ready to fight them. Then they hear Haruwaki's voice on the train speakers telling everyone to go to the top of the train so the doors don't split them up. Soon, Abisu and Makoto join them and say they got rid of the conductor. They wait for Hatanaka and others, but suddenly the train goes wild and starts throwing hot wheels at them. But Hatanaka shows up from behind and cuts the wheels with his special arms. Finally, everyone comes together and the marshmallow tells Haruwaki about the scary ghoul humans who almost eat Takahashi and Hatanaka. Luckily, the marshmallow saves them with its super stinky Rafflesia flower and the ghouls start falling one by one. Haruwaki thanks the marshmallow and asks Takahashi to find the train's soul, but he can't find anything and says the train has no supernatural power. Then Haruwaki asks Nuyudo to use his sharp eyes to look ahead of the train, and Nudo sees the train is pulled by a kasha, which is a ghoul that takes corpses. Haruwaki wants to stop it, so Abiyu carries him and jumps to the kasha's carriage, and Haruwaki calms the kasha and learns it's a cat that turned into a ghoul because of too much sadness. He frees the kasha from its pain and asks it to not cause trouble again. After a bit of a scuffle and setting things straight, the train becomes normal again. Suddenly, everyone wakes up at Hachi Ion Station when Haya and others shake them awake. Takahashi explains that it might feel like a dream, but their wounds are healed and it was all real. Everyone feels happy they are safe and gets ready to keep shopping for the Night Parade Cultural Festival. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and watch the video on your screen next.